What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Onney, the CEO, and I'm bringing you another bonus conversation with a queen. And tonight's segment is going to inspire you, uplift you, motivate you, and open up your eyes about some sensitive topics that have been swept under the rug. So I want you guys to buckle up your seatbelts because you're now plugged in, tuned in, and tapped in to Outside the Box. Back, and tonight's guest is willing to have an open, transparent conversation with me, and we're going to be talking about mental health, we're going to be talking about abuse, and we're also going to be talking about her new podcast. So without further ado, I want you to give it up for Monique. Thank you so much for coming on Outside the Box with Onney for the Conversations with a Queen. As you know, this is an uncensored talk show. Yes. And I know who you are. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you and sharing some ideas with you and just growing and sewing into one another. But for those that haven't had an opportunity to get to know you, can you tell us who you are and what all you do?
Well, my name is Monique, and of course the reason for my podcast is because I was summoned by God to actually share my story, which is my life purpose. And having said that, I am also an overachiever just like yourself. And because I have gone through so many different things like a childhood sexual abuse, CSA, I became an overachiever. So that's my purpose for being here today, and that's sharing the stories.
Well, thank you so much because, you know, this is more, it's less of an interview and more of a conversation.
Absolutely.
So I don't want you to feel interrogated. You are welcome to ask me questions as well because we're just talking. We're just two sisters sharing our visions and our stories and our traumas with the world, and we're just taking our power back. Absolutely. One conversation at a time, right?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned your podcast, but you're starting your own podcast. Can you tell us the name of your podcast?
It's Fly, and that is First Love You.
And so what inspires you to create a platform that can talk about, because we're going to, first of all, before we answer that question, tell us what your platform will consist of, what type of conversations you guys will be having.
We'll be talking about childhood sexual abuse. That's going to be the first thing. Also relationships, relationships with narcissistic individuals, relationships with family, relationships with friends, and how you choose your circle. What does that say about you? The people that you have around you and within your circle, what does that say about you?
They always say if you want to know who you are, look at the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and it's going to actually be a better reflection of actually how you see yourself as well. So in our intimate conversations, you shared with me that you've been on basically a self-love journey your whole life. Absolutely. But more so now in your adult life, you're taking your power back, you're putting content out there, you're sharing your story. What inspired you not just to live your life out loud in survivorship, but to share your stories on your platform?
I've had several conversations with several different people. I can actually say many. And when I start talking about certain things, such as sexual childhood abuse, or childhood sexual abuse, more times than not, those individuals have also either had the experience or know someone close to them that did. And again, God summoned me to actually start even talking about it. And when I started talking about it, I realized how many more individuals were out there like me. We may not share the same story, but it's the same topic, the same baseline. And people felt the need to really want to talk and hear about it. This is something that is going to stop hatred towards ourselves and stop hatred towards other people. Because again, hurt people hurt others. But on the flip side of that, healed people heal others. And so now that I am healed from the trauma, it's my turn to reach back and help those that were not able to heal.
Right. And you know, molestation and sexual abuse is so common in homes where the survivor or the victim, I don't like the term victim, I usually like the term survivor, but unfortunately there are some people that are still in victim mode, that they haven't found their voice or be able to speak out. And even if you're an adult and you're no longer going through it, if you have not walked through the steps to heal those traumas, you're still a victim. You haven't met the survivorship, especially if it's spilling over into the decisions that you make in your adult life. Now, you did say you wanted to talk about the molestation that happened as a child. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that are in our lives that are supposed to keep us safe are the very ones that are causing the abuse and the trauma. And so it kind of creates a new normal for us as children, because we don't understand, one, what's happening. We don't understand why it's happening, and it causes us to kind of blame ourselves to where we carry that over into our adult lives and our pickers are broke, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what is your current status? Are you married or single or?
Well, I am waiting for my soul to align with my other better half. I don't say that I'm single because I'm very picky about the words that I choose. However, I am divorced. I've been married twice. But right now I'm just really loving on me, you know, and eventually things will pan out.
It look good on you too, girl.
I love me.
I know. It look good on you too. Now, how have some of the traumas that you had to heal from, how did that affect your decision making in partnership in your adult life?
Well, again, my picker was completely off. Those that I thought loved me, it was me really loving them. And they were not a reflection of me. But when I saw how I treated them versus how they treated me, I began to see how I treated myself. So then it became a reflection of me.
Correct.
Because they could only love me as much as I would allow them to.
Just like a person can only, I'm not going to say a person can only abuse you as long as you allow them to. That is more so in an adult retrospect. Like, say, for instance, if you're in an adult relationship, when it comes to childhood abuse, we're really at the mercy of those that are our caretakers. But when we get into adult relationships, if we had a traumatic or chaotic childhood, a lot of times that's what we grow comfortable with. That's what becomes our normal. So we end up with guys that give us that up and down, that adrenaline rush, that push and pull, that becomes like our go-to. So when we get that calm in the storm, it doesn't feel right. It's boring. It's not, it doesn't have that ebb and, well, it doesn't have it has an ebb and flow, but it doesn't have the waves that we're used to fighting against. So can you speak on that?
I can. And I'm going to say this. Because I internalized so much, I learned to heal myself at a very early age. Now, whether it was a proper healing or incorrect healing, I learned to heal myself because I didn't have therapy. I didn't have anybody that I could talk to. I went directly to God. And even in this day, I have direct connect with God. God has brought me through so much because I don't look like what I've been through.
Amen.
Okay? So if I sat down and tried to have this conversation with someone back then, they could not relate or didn't want to relate. You know what I mean? And again, oftentimes people would tell us to just be quiet. Don't say nothing. It's better to keep the peace. But then you ask yourself, whose peace am I keeping?
Right.
And I think that that is a very a very loud statement that needs to be heard. You know, we have to stop keeping the peace when
Right.
it comes to people that harm us,
Right.
regardless to what kind of dynamic it is. If it causes harm, we have to speak up. It's time.
And I also believe that when you say keep the peace, if it's costing your peace to protect someone else's peace, that's not peace. Because in protecting other people's peace,
Absolutely.
you can lose pieces of yourself.
But I'm a child growing up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I'm told it's better to keep the peace, that means be quiet.
Quiet. It was
Don't say
taboo. It was
anything.
taboo to talk
Right.
about those things, you
Right.
know, growing up.
So as I grew older and mature, I started writing letters and I started telling my side of what happened. It was not to hurt anybody else, but it was to let everybody else know that this is what happened to me. I needed you to protect me, and you weren't there to protect me.
Did you ever go through like a season of maybe embarrassment or shame about what happened to you before you found your voice, or did you just jump out and say, you know what, wake up one day, y'all gonna stop playing with me? You know what I mean? Like, how did that transition happen from surviving to thriving? What did that look like?
Well, I've had my ups and my downs when it came to this. I experienced love for the first time when I was 24, turning 25. This man truly loved me, and I truly loved him, and it was reciprocal. Having experienced love, I knew what it felt like, but then he set the bar so high, nobody else could touch it. So I had to kind of dumb me down after I left the relationship, right? So that was at the peak of my life, because when I look back in retrospect, I was loving on myself then when I met him. So I invited that into my life. When things didn't work out, I went through, you know, the heartache, the heartbreak, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think. And that lasted for about a year, because I had something or someone to treat me the way that I treated others, even my abusers, even the ones that didn't protect me from my abusers. I still had this love. And I actually prayed to God on several occasions, God, please don't harden my heart. So how I went to thriving was to continuously love, regardless to what happened, regardless to whatever setbacks I experienced. I was determined to continue to love.
Now, that's another topic that I want to talk to you about, because so often, whether it's childhood sexual abuse, adult sexual abuse, toxic relationships and dynamics, a lot of times survivors are loyal to their abusers even after the abuse is far gone. Like some people, their uncle or their parents or someone that's very close knit into the family was the one to cause the trauma, but because they're family, well, you know, we love them because they're family, or you love them because they're your dad, or you love them because they're your mom, or you love them because they're your sister or your brother. But that's not healthy to keep that same loyalty and attachment, because now it causes an internal dialogue, like, is that, you know, the confusion of what love looks like.
But I was always taught you love your enemies too. That's what I was taught.
Yeah.
But I also realized that when I became of age, I separated myself.
Correct. Cut the access off.
I had to cut the access off. Even in today, I have had to sever ties with individuals, whether it's relatives, and I'm very careful when I speak of relatives versus family.
Right.
Because I have learned now that relatives is by blood. Your family is who you get to choose.
I say that all the time. You can't choose your relatives, but you can definitely choose your family.
You can definitely choose your family. And my family, now I'm tight. We're on the same journey. and it's a spiritual one. I recognize it to be a spiritual one, and we are 10 toes in. We're 10 toes down. There is no, you cannot separate us. And that's what I've always desired to have in my life. And that's love. I know that they have me, and I have them.
Now, when you found your voice and you decided to be open about what happened to you, did you go through a season of your loved ones shunning you, or kind of like putting you off, like cutting you off from the family? Were you an outcast or a scapegoat?
I'm going to tell you this. I've never felt as though I fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt as though I fit in.
Chosen ones never do, but keep going.
Yeah, I always did the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
No one understood me. Heck, I barely understood myself. But I can give you a couple of examples. I went skydiving. I never knew anyone that went skydiving before.
Mm-hmm.
I went to India alone. I've never known anyone to go outside of the country, less known alone.
I have.
But I'm just saying
every woman should do it.
Yeah. I was the weird one.
Yeah.
But I was on a journey then, and it was a spiritual journey. And even when I went skydiving, I didn't realize it at the time, but that too was a part of the spiritual journey. And the reason why I say that is because as I was soaring, mm-hmm. like an eagle, I identify as an eagle. You know how people mm-hmm. say they identify. I was soaring and I saw the world completely different. I saw it. It was my canvas. Mm-hmm. I could make this life what I wanted. So that's what I did.
Now, what I wanted to ask you, when you're dealing with people that have harmed you, certain triggers that come up during the healing process, whether it be people that you know, just the whole reactive abuse thing, because some people know how to trigger you to get you to go back to the person that you work so hard to heal from. Have you had to deal with any of those things in your healing journey?
Well, I'm going to tell you that God blocked a lot of it. I had multiple abusers. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just two. It wasn't even just three. But again, those abusers, some of them I had to face on a daily basis. And then once I became of age, I separated myself. So I didn't have to continue to put myself in situations. One of them was locked up for many, many years.
Mm-hmm. This is what I want to ask. Have you ever had to go back or accept an apology and build a rapport?
Not one of my abusers have come to apologize.
And that's a whole nother thing when you're having to deal with the healing aspect of it and having to accept the apology that you never got. To just move on and just say, you know what, this is something that I'm going to have to forgive and heal for myself just so I can grow and be the person and show up as the best version of myself. So what did that look like for you, not being able to get that apology that you so well deserve?
I never seen it that way. I never seen it that way. All I knew is that I had to be the best version of me on a daily basis. I was not going to stop.
Now, another thing I want to ask you, I don't want to have you spill all of the juice in the tea that's going to be on your First Love You podcast, but I also want to know, what are some of the intimate things that you're going to be sharing with us about yourself on your show that we can look forward to?
Well, we're going to talk about those individuals. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about how I actually made it through more in detail. We're going to talk about the dark, mm-hmm. and we're going to also talk about me coming out of it all.
That's what I want to get to, but I don't want to spill all the good juice here because I want people to go and subscribe to your channel and to follow your movement and get to know you on a more intimate level, because there's so many layers to you. You have such a beautiful spirit and a beautiful soul.
Thank you.
And like I said, you took the world and you made it your canvas. You made it your canvas. So another thing I wanted to ask you is how did you outsmart the abusers in your life?
The number one thing I did was I went to God about everything.
Mm-hmm.
I went to God about everything, and I listened to God. There was meditation. I didn't know that I was meditating, of course, being that young. I didn't know I was meditating, but in retrospect, I was actually meditating a lot. I was praying a lot. And not only that, I knew that there was something inside of me that could get past this because I was still alive. I was still living. I was still my happy self. I was still doing the things that a kid would do, you know. But I learned to internalize it, which is never good. I wish that I was able to get some type of therapy, but I wasn't. So I can tell you that me coming out of it was 100% God and my relationship with God.
So for those that are listening and watching, can you tell us where we can find you? You have your own Instagram page as well.
I do, and we're going to also have YouTube coming as
Okay.
well. But it is choose_love for Instagram, and it's CHUZ
_love. Okay.
So choose love. Choose_love.
Okay. And that's spelled LOVE, right?
LOVE.
LOVE.
CHUZ_LOVE.
LOVE.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a woman that's out here and they're going through their own season of self-doubt, what could you say to them? What would you say to them?
Seasons change. And it's really good to have someone in your circle that is going to help to uplift you. But in the event that you don't have that person, because I didn't, it's better to turn to either a higher power. If you don't believe in God, turn to a higher power and know that God is willing to help you, protect you, guide you, lead you on whatever part of the journey that you're in, period.
I love that. I love that so much.
But you should never give up.
You should never give up.
You should never give up.
Now, you've also overcome narcissistic abuse as well. Can you give us a little tidbit about some of the things you had to realize when healing from that?
Healing from narcissistic abuse is never easy. I've been dealing with narcissists my entire life and did not realize it until the last narcissist that I dated, which was for 6.5 years. My eyes were opened. The veil was lifted when it came to narcissistic abuse. I was always the people pleaser. I was the one that felt like I needed to help everybody, no matter what they were going through. And especially, narcissists always have problems. If you
They're
think
either the
about
victim or the hero. They're
Well,
never the villain in their own story.
always have problems when they come to you if you're dealing with a narcissist and an empath. So their whole objective is to zap your energy, right? So when they come, they have these problems, but then you feel, as an empath, you feel that it is necessary to help them through.
And help fix
Help
them.
fix it. Help fix
But
them.
they break you in the process
They
of you
steal
fixing them.
everything.
And then at the end of the day, they're still not fixed. You're just broken.
Yep.
That's it. And then they move on to their next victim. And a lot of times with narcissistic individuals, they don't change behavior, they change victims because it's easier. They rather go with someone who don't know who they are than to change their behavior.
Absolutely.
And so will that be a topic that you will also be discussing on your new podcast?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So you guys definitely have to tune in to find out more about the narcissistic abuse, the loving yourself, the self-love journey, the healing, going from survivor to thriver. We definitely want you guys to follow Monique's movement on the First Love You podcast, because in order to succeed in life, you first have to love yourself. You can't expect others to love you in a way that you have not displayed for yourself. So what else can we look forward to from you in 2025? Because it's coming.
Well, we're going to talk about my spirituality. We're going to talk about some of my gifts as well. And that was another thing that I learned during this whole lifelong journey are special gifts that I have. And I can say that everything that I will be talking about is going to be uplifting, it's going to be encouraging, it's going to be sad, it's going to be happy moments, but it's going to be those topics that nobody wants to talk about. And again, why hurt people, hurt others, but then us as healed individuals need to heal others.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to your new show. Maybe I'll be able to be a guest on your show.
Absolutely.
Where we can talk about it and figure out how others that want to start their healing journey with some of those steps, what it looks like. Because healing looks different for everybody. Some people can heal 30 days. Some people, it may take them a whole year or 2 years because, I'm divorced, and before I started dating again after my divorce, I was single for 4 years. It took me 2 years to heal and find myself, and then 2 years to try to see if my picker was working. You know what I mean? But long story short, my healing looked different between different relationships that I had, depending on the womb, the growing that I had to do, the self-reflection, and then the accountability that needed to come with that. Because a lot of times as survivors, we can talk about the people that caused us traumas, but a lot of times we don't take the accountability of repeating the same mistakes or picking the same person that's in a different body bag, which is another topic that we can definitely look forward to from the First Love You podcast as well. So once again, I want you to repeat your Instagram for those that are listening on all the podcast networks and those that are watching.
Okay, the Instagram is choose_love, and that's CHEZ_LOVE. And we will have a YouTube channel as well, which is where the podcast will be actually dropped. We are going to have it on Choose Love. We're going to try to find something that is the same.
But they can definitely follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once you get that up, you'll be promoting it on your Instagram page, so
Absolutely.
they'll know exactly where to go.
Absolutely.
And if they want to book you as well as a guest on their podcast, they can also find you on your reach out on your Instagram page.
That's right.
Now, we can talk all day about all these different topics, but I mostly just wanted to introduce Miss Monique to the world, make you guys all aware of her First Love You podcast, because if you're on a self-healing and love journey for 2025, you definitely want to be plugged in, tuned in, and tapped in to all the amazing things that she is doing in her season. Now, I want to remind you guys that Outside the Box with Onney is on multiple platforms. You can find us everywhere. We're on Sticker, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Look, I can't even talk. I'm so excited. So you guys can definitely find a platform that works for you. Come on over to our YouTube page, Outside the Box with Onney. Be sure you click that subscribe button and that bell notification so you can be notified when we drop a new segment. And if you like what you hear or you want to come and share your story with me, we are casting. You can send your EPK in your bio to otb.liveshow@gmail.com, and one of our casting directors will get back with you and find out how you could be a perfect fit for the show. Now, if you like the content and you want to be your own content creator, we have Onney Studios, where you could become a podcast content creator and you can bring your vision to fruition today. Go to www.onneystudios.com for more information and find out how you can start your podcast journey. I definitely want to thank you, Monique, for just coming and letting me get all in your business and just for sharing and being so transparent and thorough. I'm excited about your journey for your podcast, and I'm excited about the gems that you'll be dropping and just the transparency, because you giving me a little snippet behind the scenes of what we have to look forward to, and I am co-signing on this one here because I know that there's going to be happy moments, you're going to have tissue moments, because just us talking in our own intimate space, we've had some moments where I could have just, came to tears. So I just want to thank you for being a woman of strength, a woman of dignity, and for walking in your truth, and for reclaiming your power, and for having your voice, because so many queens need to be able to articulate how they feel, and we sometimes can't find the words, but then we meet women like yourself who has a voice, and we could be like, you know what, I went through that. So just seeing you be able to articulate your growth and know where your journey is heading is very inspiring. So I just want to give you your flowers out loud in front of everybody and just say, hey girl, I see you, and you just keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing.
Absolutely.
So before we go, is there anything you want to leave us with? Any nuggets of knowledge?
Well, of course, always. First, love you. Mm-hmm. First, love you is about turning what's out inward. Mm-hmm. And becoming the best version of yourself. It doesn't matter what your walk of life looked like. You may not have experienced childhood sexual abuse. You may not have experienced dating a narcissist or married to a narcissist or anything like that. But there is always a journey. Mm-hmm. And seasons do change. So it's hard to say, or sometimes it's easy to say, that things will get better. Mm-hmm. But I'm a living witness. It will get better. Whatever the situation is, when you love yourself, nothing can stop you.
Well, I love that, and I think that we should end on that note. I'm your girl, Onney, the CEO. This is my girl, Monique. I almost called you Unique. I like that, because you are definitely unique. So you guys make sure you follow Monique at choose_love, and make sure you keep an eye out for the First Love You podcast. Fly podcast, First Love You. I'm your girl, Onney, the CEO. I want to thank you guys for joining us for this special segment of Conversations with a Queen on Outside the Box. You're now plugged in, tuned in, tapped in to Outside the Box.